This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC. I have the pleasure of bringing a new invention to the modern spa experience straight out of Denver, Colorado. Husband and wife team, Damien and Jessica. We're going to talk about Oakwell Beer Spa. That's right, you heard it right. Oakwell Beer Spa, words that have never been put together before this podcast and before they started this company. Welcome to your first Halo Talks.
Thanks. We're excited to be here.
Awesome. So you guys started this about 5 years ago, and from the research that I was doing on your new business, that you guys visited, I think 25 different countries, and kind of came home and decided that this is what your play was going to be. So, kind of talk us through that journey and how we got to this, and then why you thought that there was a fit with what the market was looking for.
Yeah. So our story starts in New York City. We were both working corporate jobs at the time. Damien's background is in sales and marketing. My background is in operations and HR. So New York is where we met. We fell in love. We got married. And although we were living the life in New York, enjoying everything that the city has to offer, we really felt professionally unfulfilled. We've both been entrepreneurs at heart. So we'd find ourselves when we got home from work, we would have a pint of beer, a glass of wine, and talk about different business ideas. And we knew that we didn't want to reinvent the wheel, but we also didn't want to do a restaurant or a coffee shop or something that's been done a million times before. So, at the time we were still young in our 20s. And if we were going to do something crazy, we figured now is the time to make a big move before we have a mortgage, kids, all of that stuff. So we made a decision to both quit our jobs at the same time, sell everything we own, pack 2 backpacks, and travel the world indefinitely, looking for interesting business ideas that we could bring back to the United States and scale. So although we had a lot of fun on the trip, the purpose was to find a unique business idea that didn't exist in the United States. So we ended up backpacking for 14 months. We went to 25 countries. We saw a lot of really interesting things, a lot of them not so scalable, like Mario Kart racing in the streets of Tokyo, hedgehog cafes, a lot of interesting animal cafes, cooking classes. But really what we love is hospitality and wellness. And so when we found ourselves in Zakopane, Poland, which is in the Polish Alps, at a beer spa, we thought, okay, this is interesting. Americans love beer. We love wellness. We love hospitality. This really merges everything that we're passionate about into one. In Eastern Europe, there are a few beer spas that exist, but they're very different than what we ended up doing. So in Eastern Europe, the vibe is very rustic. You're always in kind of a log cabin type of environment. You have a free flowing tap next to your tub. So it's like all you can drink beer, which is illegal and likely dangerous in the United States. In Eastern Europe, you have a bed of hay that you lay in after your beer bath, which we didn't find particularly enjoyable. So we decided not to do that. But we thought it was really cool, the idea of mixing, using beer for wellness, creating a social wellness experience. So we continued exploring spas around the world. We went to jjimjilbangs in South Korea, onsens in Japan, wine spas in Spain, and realized that all around the world, you have these social wellness experiences where people go with their friends, with their families, their big facilities, with saunas, with different tubs, with different amenities. And then there's also a cantina where you can drink beer, you can have a bowl of ramen or noodles. And it's something that everyday people go to. It's not just for the healthy and wealthy like in the US. The spa industry is really catered towards a certain demographic and is really catered towards women more than everything. So we realized that this is something interesting that we could do and something that the US was missing. So we put together our business plan and financial models as we continued traveling. Although we love New York City, we knew that, New York is oversaturated when it comes to tourism activities. It's a bit expensive. We didn't want to have any investors up front. So we were searching for what city to put this in. We were looking for a beer-centric city, wellness-centric city. And all of our research pointed to Denver being the best location. So we moved here with still our backpacks on and just our business plan in hand.
Amazing.
We've never been to Denver before, but started pitching banks and looking for commercial spaces and ended up opening the first location in February of 2021. So we're just celebrating 5 years in business.
Amazing. So a couple of questions. One, those 25 countries is clearly a business expense according to tax purposes. If you're looking to start a business, I hope. So I would encourage all entrepreneurs to expense your travel if you're looking at new ideas while you're on the road. Let me ask you a question. When you were in Poland and when you were in some of these other cities and going to these experiential places, did you spend a lot of time kind of talking to the staff, talking to the business owners, like get access to, hey, who's running this place? Like, what's the unit economics? How deep did you go there, or were you really just looking for what's the experiments? Do we like the experience, and then we'll figure out what the business model is based on your background?
But actually, we're very analytical by nature. So there's the experience part where it's all about the hospitality, and we actually would take the time to really enjoy the experience when we're experiencing all of those new concepts. And then we'll just sit down around a beer or a glass of wine after the fact as a debrief with all of our notes, putting notes on paper and really take the time to analyze the business model. We are very familiar with the hospitality industry. We've worked within that industry for a long time. So that was very natural for us to just sit down and look and really split the every single steps in that process, in that concept, and being able to analyze it. The size of the tub, the size of the room. Is it a private room? Are we running this as a hotel, more as a restaurant because you need tables turnover? So we would ask ourselves all of these questions. Of course, for any fellow entrepreneurs that are listening to us, be a little bit like, go above and beyond and maybe give a call to the business 2 or 3 days later and ask them specific questions. Maybe you have some allergies and you need to know a bit more about the ingredients. Maybe you are about to create the best anniversary ever for your wife. Do you offer this type of package? Do you have anything, in your bag for we would always try to question and find out questions and answers that we didn't have from our experience. But overall, it was just you and I.
Yeah.
One of the things, and I might be wrong, but I'm just going to make a statement. When I traveled around Europe, and it's been a while, I didn't see like the density of people when I went to a restaurant or when I went to a spa or like a health club. I mean, I'm a little bit dated from when I went on tour, but I was kind of sometimes amazed by like, how's this restaurant stay open? There's only like 3 or 4 tables of people that are eating here. Like I was in like Milan or like somewhere in Italy or in like Switzerland. I was like, what is there like, do they have a marketing problem? And I felt like sometimes like maybe that business just kind of gets by. So did you kind of get a sense for like what the volume, what the demand is, or did you not really think that that was necessary? Because if I put this in a high density city in the US, kind of like I know what the behavior, typically would be of people that like would enjoy this type of, place to go.
Yeah, we didn't look too much at the occupancy of the spa experiences that we were at around the world because we know that the market in the US is really different, right? There's
Yeah.
more disposable income here, salaries are higher. This is a type of concept that we were going to put in mid to large size cities, typically in the downtown area where you have a lot of tourism traffic. So it wouldn't be an apples to apples comparison looking at, oh, the spa's kind of dead here. We were really just looking for what type of experience, what type of services, the hospitality we wanted to provide, really more around the operations side than we were looking at the occupancy side.
We would look at
Gotcha.
the number of reviews. If you have a space with 3 or 4 thousand reviews over the last 4 or 5 years, that was actually a good indication
Yeah.
that they had enough traffic to show us that that specific business model, a part of it was viable.
Gotcha. Yeah, we're invested in a company called Higher Dose, which does
Oh
infrared
yeah.
Yeah.
saunas, and they
Oh
do,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, we did
so
actually a lot of research into Higher Dose when we were first opening,
oh
because
oh
Higher Dose
cool.
was one of the first
Infrared
infrared
sauna.
sauna spas. So we're
Okay.
familiar.
If you need any of our products wholesale, I'm happy to hook you up there because that's a $50 million revenue business
Yeah.
now, and all e-commerce and products. The reason why I was bringing that up is because when I first got involved there was an education process that needed to be, put forward to consumers related to, what is infrared and what is red light and, different frequencies and, how does this differentiate from what and how does it, the science kind of, proliferate. And now it's kind of like, I don't have to explain to somebody what an infrared sauna is, but like 8 years ago I did.
Yeah.
So, what's the background and the history of this whole beer spa concept that was out there? And how did you kind of, check off your own boxes since you both, seem to be very educated and like aware of like, hey, there's like shticks and there's like science.
Yeah.
So how did you kind of go back and do that and get comfortable with it?
This is such a good question.
Yeah. So when we first decided we wanted to do a beer spa, our biggest thing is we don't want to be a gimmick. We don't want to be something
Yeah,
that's hot and it's trendy and it's cool and then all of a sudden fizzles out a few years later. We wanted there
no
to
pun
be real
intended.
wellness benefits behind it, right? So we had to look into what are the benefits of hops, what are the benefits of barley, and just for everyone that's listening, you don't actually bathe in beer. That is the number one question that we get. So we're
Sure,
not pouring PBR cores into a tub, right? So the water, it's hydrotherapy that's infused with hops, malt, and then we have different herbal blends. So hops is a natural sedative. It's a cousin of marijuana, and the aromatherapy from hops is really relaxing. So if you've ever drinking a really hoppy beer before and gotten tired afterwards, that's from the aroma from the hops. And then barley is a grain. It's really similar to oatmeal. So we've all heard of taking an oatmeal bath
sure.
before, how it's really hydrating and nourishing for the skin. So that's the same thing that malted barley does. So those are the two main ingredients of beer, and that's what we use in our hydrotherapy tubs. So we did quite a lot of research into making sure that there's real therapeutic, holistic benefits in bathing in these ingredients. And then we also worked with herbalists to come up with the other herbal additions for the baths as well. We have three different herbal infusions that you can infuse into your bath. So we have an energizing IPA. So that's in addition to the hops and malt. We also have lemongrass, lemon verbena. So those again have a lot of energizing properties. We have a calming amber bath that uses sage and peppermint. And then we have a muscle relaxing lager that has arnica in it. So hiking, snowboarding, skiing is really popular here. So you can come take a beer bath with the hops and malt and then arnica in it as well. So we took a lot of time curating those blends. And then we also have infrared sauna to your point. So basically, we have private spa suites. Inside your spa suite, there's an infrared sauna, a rain shower, and a hydrotherapy tub. So you're very familiar with higher dose with the benefits of infrared sauna. So we don't need to go through all of that. But
Hmm.
that's something, at the time we were building this business model, it was relatively new. So we did a lot of research, making sure that, okay, there are actual, scientific benefits behind this. And then we use zero gravity massage chairs as well. So instead of
Okay, yeah,
using
saw that.
massage therapists, we have high tech robotics enabled massage chairs. And again, did a lot of research into the benefits of those. And then, as well, from a business perspective, having a spa that doesn't rely on licensed professionals is a big game changer. We talk to a lot of people in the spa industry, and hiring and retaining massage therapists and estheticians. And then also dealing with when one of them calls out sick, then you have to cancel all of their appointments for the day. So we wanted to be able to create a spa that had all of the wellness benefits, but also address a lot of the pain points that you see in the spa industry.
That's
And
great. Yeah.
adding to that, yes, the culture of educating a market, an audience that is not aware of practices abroad. From our takeaways from our travel around the world, Japan, South Korea, Eastern Europe, or even France, people bath in those herbal baths since
Right.
centuries.
Yeah.
Yeah, from France originally, we have wine spas, south of France and north of Spain, and Eastern Europe has all those beer spas. So we didn't reinvent the wheel. And actually, Jessica, you have a good point on uh, investing, creating something is not gimmicky for the longevity of the business model. And the most amazing thing in our concept is offering that private spa suite that is very similar to a luxurious small hotel room. And within that room, the main the cherry on the top is actually that big giant tub. And the
Right.
culture of bathing in the US has been here for a long time. Actually, hot tub is something extremely popular in the US. We've tried to, you can educate about the infrared sauna, but it didn't matter. What really people loved about our concept at the very beginning that we didn't have to explain is you're soaking in a bath. Everything else
Right.
is pure bonus with your favorite
With the beer
drink,
in hand.
with your favorite drink in your hand. And combining the best of both worlds has actually created a lot of oh my gosh, is that what I hear? Is that what I read? The beer spa? Can you tell me more? So that was another advantage. Yes, then you're right. How do we break the stigma that a day spa is meant to be only for specific audience? In the US, often women are going to day spas. So Jessica and I has actually worked a lot on um, sensory marketing. The music, the smell, the way everything is designed, the way we greet you, the way whenever you step in the spa, you're not intimidated by specific colors. It can be pink, it can be light blue. We've really done a lot of research on making sure that both men, women together are feeling not intimidated. So
Yeah.
now
Gotcha.
the beer aspect took a long time, and still as of today, is it takes a lot of education. It's like, no, you're not bathing in beer. You're not.
Sure.
It's not real beer.
Yeah. Okay. I've got well, I'm writing down like a list of questions. So this might be a
Okay.
longer podcast than I anticipated to all of our listeners here, but this is intriguing to me. First question in no particular order. Is there anyone that ever gets allergic or like has an out, like any kind of reaction to hops and barley?
Yeah. So in the history of 5 years being open, we've only had one person that told us they were allergic to hops.
Okay.
Some people are more sensitive to the smell of hops, like they'll sneeze. But in terms of having like an actual topical reaction, the hops is relatively limited. Barley, on the other hand, has gluten, right? So people that have celiac disease or have topical sensitivities to gluten, we have worked with a gluten-free brewery that
Wow.
provides milled
Okay.
millet instead of the barley. So we use the same ingredients that you would find in a gluten-free beer. It provides all the same benefits for your skin, but without the gluten.
Wow. Okay. Next question. Okay. When you have a hot tub full of hops and barley,
Yeah.
do you need in between sessions to actually have kind of some kind of filtration system?
Yeah, so we completely drain, clean, and refill the tubs after each use.
Wow.
So it's very similar
Okay.
to a bathtub more than a hot tub. Like we're not putting, there's no chemicals, right? We wanted this to be a
Yeah, that's what
very
I figured.
organic, clean experience for your skin. So the tubs are, big enough to fit 3 people in them. So we're not wasting too much water. But we do completely fill them, infuse whatever hops, barley, and herbs that you've selected for your experience. And then at the end of your session, drain, clean, and then refill.
Okay. Third question. Okay. How
I'm
many
ready.
people have said afterwards, "Hey, can I get a gallon of this for my house, and I'm gonna
Yes.
use it for my own tub"?
And we have Oakwell Cosmetics, which is our sister company. So we do beer
There we
infused
go.
body products. So
Okay.
we do have smaller sizes of our bath infusions that you can bring home so you can have a beer bath at home.
So it's like a concentrate that like you put in the water or powdered.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Gotcha.
they come in essentially giant bath tea bags, right? And so if you could picture a tea bag, but it's more like this
Okay.
size,
Okay.
and it has all the hops, the barley, and the herbs infusion inside. And then we have miniature versions that you can hang from your tub spout to do it at home.
Gotcha. Okay, my last question is: you come back from your trip, you
Yeah.
decide you on backpacks, you move into Denver, you walk into like your first bank and say, "Hey, I'm opening up a beer spa." How did those conversations go? You seem very, like people
Yeah.
that are passionate, educated, thorough, want to finance. But I gotta assume there's a couple of banks that like, this couple's like out of their mind. Like, when there's no way
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
get approval at this investment committee.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. We pitched over 40 banks. So we
Thank
went
you.
to
Thank you
all
for
of,
your honesty.
the Chase, the Bank of America's, the Welfare, like all big, small, regional, it doesn't matter.
They loved it.
They loved
They
it.
wanted to buy a gift
Well, they
card, but
loved it as a consumer,
As
just
a
not as a
consumer,
credit.
like, let me
Yeah,
know
of
when you
course.
open because it sounds
I'm
really
no
cool.
doubt.
But
Right,
this is a
right,
little
yeah.
strange. I'm not going to be able to loan you any money.
Yeah.
So yes, we learned a lot through pitching all of those banks, by repetition. We got to understand what the questions they were asking. I mean, we had a really detailed business plan and financial model. But still, it's like unproven concept. We didn't have 2 years worth of P&L. And so they're like, come back to us later on when you're ready to open your second location. But we ended up getting
Yeah.
funding from the city of Denver, has
No
a
way.
small business loan
Wow.
program for people
That's
that
huge.
cannot get traditional funding. It's like excellent interest rates. Like we're talking 1.5% interest,
That
10-year
would be
fixed
considered
loan.
excellent.
And
Wow.
so they ended up funding it because we were able to prove that, hey, we went to 40 banks. They all said no, but we have this great idea. We're willing to go into a neighborhood in Denver that's in need of economic development. So they have different target areas within Denver. And so they ended up lending us the money, but it was only because all of these other banks said no.
Just a question, if you're comfortable, answer this question. And if you're not, then go take a beer saw in a tub, and call me back. Um, do you have to personally guarantee something like that when it comes to a government related loan?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
So it was a
okay.
personal guarantee. And actually we got the funding from two different places. The city of Denver did half, and then the other half came from a local nonprofit lender, similar thing, SBA backed loan, but to businesses that are, we're woman owned business, right? So that gave us an advantage. We're able to
Hmm.
qualify for certain loans that other businesses couldn't. But yes, they all were personal guarantees. And then same with the commercial spaces as well. It was funny. We thought that we'd be able to find a commercial space pretty easily, but had a hard time finding the money. It was quite the opposite. At the time in Denver, this was in 2019 when we moved here, the vacancy rate for commercial spaces was only 2%. There
Right.
was a lot of landlords that didn't even want to talk to us because, again, they thought, like, what the heck is a beer spa? Who are these kids like pitching this weird idea? We'd prefer to go with a 7-Eleven or something that's proven. So we
Sure.
ended up getting the funding relatively quickly, but had a really hard time finding a commercial space, and of course had to put a personal guarantee on those on the lease.
Yeah, gotcha. So as you were going through this, for the average entrepreneur listening here, what was the chirping from friends, family, parents, grandparents, so on and so forth of like, hey, we know they're in love. That's awesome. They want to work together, but like, this sounds like a crazy idea because my parents say that to me all the time about several things I've done in the past. So I just wanted to see if there's any, I love that type of company if I can get some.
I think we don't really ask people for input, right? Like we are each other's
That's awesome.
sounding
That's even
board.
better.
It's like we also don't believe in taking money or hiring friends or family. So they were kind of like, here's what we're doing. This is the plan. I feel like they're all pretty supportive. Like they know that we're fairly capable people. We'll figure it out. Of course, I'm sure in the back of their mind, they're like, all right, well, good luck. This sounds a little strange, but at the end of the day, we just didn't really ask for anyone's opinion. We just charged forward.
How important was working at a corporate job, understanding processes, understanding financials, understanding sales and marketing? How important was that for you to run a business successfully the way you're doing now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. At this age, I mean, we were younger, and I think we've taken is like learn, make mistakes with the piano of someone else, and this
Right.
has
Yeah,
been
exactly.
extremely helpful for us to take risks without seeing the without any specific issues that could happen to our job or the business itself. But it was for us all about training. I mean, I remember it was like, oh, worst case scenario, we lose a bit of money on market share, but it's okay. I'm learning. And I think creating this business for us is the result of all of our learning and big takeaways of our corporate job.
Yeah. Yeah. And in my job before, in my corporate job, I worked in sales for some time, and our clients were mainly Fortune 500 companies. And so I'd be meeting with, I was in my 20s, and I'd be meeting with VPs and directors of different departments, Fortune 500 companies in New York City, and just gaining that confidence and also the verbiage and how you interact and how the hierarchy works. It really made us more confident than when we were in our late 20s going and pitching these
Yeah.
banks and
Right.
different people. Like we knew what to say, we knew what they were looking for. If they asked, use some acronym or said something, our experience in the corporate world definitely gave us a big leg up.
Yeah. And then, as you look forward, is this something that you see as, hey, we want to add these locations, as we feel it's right to grow corporately, or is there some kind of franchise model here? Do you kind of like what you're doing? Sometimes people define success too broadly, in my mind, of what they think they want to accomplish, and then they realize, hey, I kind of like my life the way it is, and I'm going to grow at my own pace, and I don't need outside private equity or venture capital or friends and family or somebody that's going to put pressure on me because I'm doing something, I love it, and it's working.
Yeah. When we were traveling the world looking for business ideas, we wanted to find something that we could scale. We never wanted to be mom and pop business owners that just kind of run one or two stores for the rest of our lives. That's fine for some people, but we're just a little bit more ambitious than that, I think.
Hmm.
So we, really early on after opening our first location, we had to decide, do we want to go the franchise route or do we want to go the corporate owned route? Because we are the first in the market and because someone that has deeper pockets can come in and quickly open more of these than we have. We knew that franchising was the route to go because there's only so many that we can, construct and open by ourselves at the same time. So we just opened our second corporate owned location in the South Denver suburbs called Highlands Ranch. We opened that one and are operating it as a franchise. So we designed, construction blueprints and prototypes and interior design package. We implemented a new appointment management software and POS where we're now paying royalties and a brand fund to the mother corporate company. We hired an entirely new team and trained them from scratch because we could have used people, our employees that have been with us for 3-4 years from our existing location. But franchisees aren't going to have the luxury of doing that. So we wanted to see what the hiring and training process was like with a totally new batch of employees. So that location's been open for almost a year now. And then we
Hmm.
just launched our franchise sales cycle last month. So we've
Okay.
also spent the last 2 years putting together our ops manual, FDD, franchise support system.
Nice.
And we've been collecting leads of, our guests that have been interested in franchising over the past few years. And so we're working them through the sales cycle now.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear it. Well, that's a great story. Sounds like an awesome experience. I'll try to come to Denver. Thanks for coming on Halo Talks, and this is to the new experiences hitting the market. 25 countries back to Denver, and getting loans to put this together. It's an awesome story. So congrats on what you built.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you so
We're
much.
excited for the
That's great.
future.
That was fun. This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks, your captain speaking. I am the founder and managing partner at Integrity Square. We've been around now for 15 and one half years. We have been helping people like yourselves get capital, do mergers and acquisitions, consulting, strategic advice in the health, active lifestyle, and outdoor Halo sector, trying to help as many entrepreneurs as possible get to the next level, take that inflection point, and be the force behind your growth. We are helping companies that have at least $3 million of EBITDA, around $10 million of revenue, and we are positioned to help you get institutional growth capital or to negotiate deals with strategic partners. If you go to integritysq.com/ISQ, you can see our capabilities deck. Happy to set up a consultation at any time. That is free of charge, and we look forward to helping solve obesity, loneliness, and diabetes. Go Halo.